Today I will be doing something a little different. In order to hopefully get more clicks, I will be doing a little story time video. This will still have a moral and a lesson to learn, but I digress. To help you understand what will be happening to me, you must first know that I am somewhat of a mechanic. I went to school, I worked on my own car and other motorized vehicles, and once performed an entire engine teardown, and it worked after I put it back together. So I would say that I am competent in the world of motors. A little too competent, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So this story will start with my neighbor. He needed something to be welded, and hey, I'm a welder. It would be a simple task. Shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes, everything said and done. Now my home does not have a 240 volt plug, so I had to get a welder with its own built-in engine to generate the power. So I pulled my rig out and I started the engine. It does start. It runs for about a second and a half, but then it dies out. It had been sitting for a long time, so I thought about what the issues could be. Now I had a problem very similar to this on my motorcycle a few years back, and I found at the time that the issue for the motorcycle was that the carburetor jet was clogged. Now, you see, California gas very much does not like carburetors. I could tell you why, but it's rather complicated, and basically California gas has lots of additives that like to clump together after sitting for a long time. My thought process was that the generator acted like the motorcycle, so it must be the same issue. Well, now all I have to do is open it up, find the carburetor, clean the jet, and I should be good to go. Only if it was that simple. If only. Opening up the top, I had the air filter. Okay, take that off, no problem. Then a metal plate. Took out the bolts and removed the plate, and there's the carburetor. Well, good. This shouldn't be much longer. So I unscrewed the top half of the carburetor, almost dropping the screw into the lower carburetor, which would have really screwed me over, but I got it out before it fully fell in. I got to the jet and took it out and looked through to see how bad the blockage was. To my surprise, it was not at all. Think more. Okay. The jet is clean, so that means that fuel should be getting into the engine. So that means that the carb isn't why the engine isn't starting. The air filter's fine, I just took it out. So there should be plenty of airflow. Maybe the spark plugs went out. So I take out the spark plugs and connect it to ground and try to start the engine, and there's sparks on both sides. Okay, now I really don't know what's going on. Okay, have to think again. So I should have everything, except for maybe compression, maybe? So I get my father to turn over the engine with my thumb placed over the spark plug hole, and yes, there is certainly compression. At this point, I'm getting really frustrated, and I must think yet again. Okay. I have some starting fluid. I can spray that in and see what happens. And when I do so, it starts. I'm so happy. It took half the day, but I can finally... And it stopped again. I sprayed some more, and it ran for about 2 seconds. Okay, now I know it's a fuel issue. I then traveled down the fuel line to try and find any blockages. I took apart the tubes, the fittings, and all the filters. I took out everything I could and put my finger over all the holes, and everywhere there was suction. So I know it's not the fuel pump. I tried everything I could think of, and it was around 3:30 to 4 p.m., and I still couldn't find out what's going on. But then a thought crossed my mind. Maybe the fuel tank's just empty. But that can't be. I know that the tank has gas. I checked the shadow, and it sat about halfway or so. But I could not notice that the shadow was being cast by the box which sits just right in front of it. Well, I can't really tell, but I guess I could go fill it up anyway. So I go fill her up, get her home, and try to turn her over. And starts up no problem. So I guess the last job was running on fumes, and I finished with less than 5 seconds of gas left. And with that, I bring us back to the title, Occam's razor. The simplest solution is often the correct one. And if I only started with the possibility that I may have just ran out of gas, I would not have wasted my day trying to find a solution to the problem that everyone else would have started with. I was too smart for my own good, and now every time I come across a problem, I start with the simplest solution, because I don't want to lose a whole day again. Now, please learn from my mistakes. The definition of wisdom is learning from the mistakes of others. So please, learn from me. Now, take care.